Welcome to the Six Figure Flipper Podcast, where we broadcast weekly interviews with real estate investors from around the globe to empower you on your wealth building journey ahead. Here's your host, Matty A.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Six Figure Flipper. We're not talking about flipping today. We are talking about multi-family real estate investing. I got a guy named Bruce Petersen, the apartment guy. He's based out of Austin, Texas. Bruce and I met in a GoBundance mastermind event. And to give you a little backstory on Bruce, he's an award-winning real estate syndicator, TV personality, public speaker, and he also is a business coach inside the multifamily sector of the real estate industry. He does most of his stuff, obviously, in Texas, but his syndications have spanned multiple years and have consisted of over 900 units. And one thing that he is really good at is syndication. If you're not familiar with syndication, the raising of funds to go out and buy big multifamily buildings, then you're going to learn a lot today. I really took a step back, played the student myself, and asked a lot of the questions that I wanted answers to, and really just talking about how you put these kind of deals together, how you find these kind of deals, right? It's a little bit different of a lead generation strategy when it comes to finding multifamily, but at the end of the day, right, flipping houses is great, wholesaling houses is great, but those only generate little chunks of cash, and you have to show up and work hard for these things every single day, whereas getting more doors under one roof with people who are paying down your mortgage, who are increasing your equity, who are bringing in positive cash flow, that residual income is ultimately the path to freedom, right? That passive income, that mailbox money, it all comes from rentals. And so Bruce does this on a very high level. The dude knows what he's talking about. So we're going to be really digging into some of the nuts and bolts of how you do this stuff from a ground level, from a high level. So today, if you are looking to learn more about apartment investing, about multifamily investing, which you absolutely should, because this is going to be something that will unlock financial freedom for you long-term, passive income investments. Today's a great episode. So with that being said, we're going to be diving in here in 1 second. Want to make sure that we got a new resource for you guys to download this month. Is all about learning how to manage the construction process, whether it's a remodel on your own home, whether it's a flip, whether it's a wholesale and you're just trying to map out what goes into that for the next investor that you're going to sell it to, understanding construction, understanding the rehab and how to make these calculations, how to streamline the process, basically everything from start to finish, finding the contractor to getting them going to the documentation, you name it. It's in this guide. I created this guide for you guys so that way you can really sink your teeth into this. This is something that I usually sell in my store. It's also inside the course, but I went ahead and pulled out some of the pieces for you guys so you can really narrow this down and get a good understanding of what it takes, because there might be some things that you already know how to do, some things that maybe you're not even thinking about. If you're going to do this, I want to make sure you have the whole piece of the puzzle so that way you can really feel confident moving through the rehab process. So if you want that, go ahead and go ahead and text the word like a pro, no spaces, to 44222. It'll ask for your email and it'll pop that guide right into your inbox. There's some videos there. There's some documents inside of it, as well as just the full-on guide that will take you from start to finish of the construction process. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into today's interview with the man, Bruce Petersen. Well, welcome into the show, Bruce Petersen. What's up, man?
Not a lot, dude. What's going on with you?
You know, I'm in California. The weather's sunny. My wife loves me. My kids think I'm awesome. So
life sucks, basically.
Yeah, right. Nothing to complain about over here. Doing some investment deals, enjoying, life. Excited to talk to you about, kind of what you're up to right now. And for those that don't know who Bruce Petersen is, what kind of space you play in, just give us a quick little backdrop.
All right. Well, I'm Bruce Petersen, right? I'm the apartment guy, APT-guy. I'm the apartment guy. I'm the cheese ball driving around Austin, Texas with a license plate that says APT-guy.
Branding.
Guy, right? Well, I'm a syndicator. So I raise money to make money for a lot of people, including myself and my wife. So part of my job, my biggest job is, raising money so we can all go make money together. So I'm always marketing myself. So I've got my stuff out there. Anyways, I've been a syndicator for about 7 years now. Started in 2002, so 6 years, I guess. 2002, bought my first 48 unit apartment complex in 2012, and held that one for almost 2.5 years, made 300% on that. But before that, where I was before I got into real estate, I was a stockbroker in the early 90s.
Okay.
And I fell out of that when I went to Desert Storm. I was full commission. I was young. I wasn't saving any of my money. So I was kind of going hungry. So I kind of fell into retail because I'm a college dropout, believe it or not. I got a job as a stockbroker as a college dropout. But
wait, how'd you do that first? That takes some creativity and perseverance.
Don't let the title fool you. I'm not on Wall Street, right? I was basically pitching penny stocks. I was making really good money while I was making really good money, but then the bottom fell out of the market and I wasn't making any money. So then I went to, I had a friend that rescued me, is what he told me, and I fell for it. I got into retail, and I was in retail for 18 years. And the last year I was working 90 to 110-hour weeks, and
wow.
it destroyed me. So I was fat. I'm 5'9", 240 pounds at that point.
Wow.
No wife, no girlfriend, no dog, no kid, nothing. Right? How can you have a life when you're working 110-hour weeks? So it ran me into the ground. So I made enough money, saved enough money over the years, and invested wisely. So I quit working for somebody else in 2007. And found real estate in 2000. When did I really find it? Probably 2011. I started my education. Again, bought my first property in 2012, and I've been off and running since.
I love it, man. Okay, this is cool. So you've covered some really, 2011 to now, to cover the ground that you've covered is nothing short of impressive. I want to kind of break that down. But for those that they've heard the word syndication, but they don't truly understand, because this is your space, I figured it'd be a good way for you to, what is syndication? Break that down for us real fast.
All right. So basically, I, as the syndicator or the deal sponsor, I go out and I pull people together, right? So you can call me basically the general partner, the decision maker, I'm the operational partner. And then I bring in silent investors or limited partners into our deals. So we will put our own money into the deal, but then we go out and raise money from others to bring the balance of the money to the table to go out and buy a big apartment complex. We're buying 200 to 400 units usually at a time. And we'll have anywhere from 20 to 60 investors on a project. But again, I am the operating partner or the general partner. So I raise the money, I go out and buy the property, I operate the property through my management company, do all the major rehab through my construction company. So we're all in-house. And we look to make 7 to 9% returns by the end of the first year. So our pro forma on the first year, somewhere between 7 to 9%. That's basically what a syndication is. You're putting all of your eggs in one guy's basket, basically. So you need to find a very reputable deal maker, a syndicator that has a good track record with success, somebody that's good at what they do, because you're going to make your return based on their efforts.
Yep. I love it. So we'll take a step back real fast, and we'll build up to these 200 to 400 unit projects and kind of how you've built this ecosystem and this business and all these kind of areas of how you're capturing wealth and income in this ecosystem that you built up. Take us back to that first deal. You said, what was it, a 48 unit property?
Yeah, 48 unit property in North Austin. Bought it 2012, September 2012. The plan was to hold it for 5 to 7 years, right? It's my first deal. I don't know what I'm doing.
And did you syndicate this one?
I syndicated the first one. I had 14 people invest with me.
Okay.
But everybody that invested with me knew I had no track record. I had done all the book learning I could do. I had, somebody kind of walking me through the process and mentoring me and coaching me through it. But I didn't directly have any experience. But I got to know 14 guys that knew, liked, and trusted me enough to figure it all out and to be entrusted with their $475,000 that I raised from those 14 guys. So I did that. Like I said, we were going to hold it for 5 to 7 years, but then the Austin market hit, right? So 2012, 13, 14. So the end of 14, the beginning of 15, I started looking at everything and thinking, well, we've made a huge gain in this property. Now, the market might continue to rise, but it might not. Why get greedy, right? Pigs get slaughtered. So I decided that I was going to sell the property, and we're going to lock in a pretty good gain. And I had a few of the investors say, look, dude, we're buying this stuff for cash flow. Why are we selling our cash flow stream? It's like, okay, I agree with that. I can keep returning 12% to you annually, or I can lock in 8.5 to 9 years of cash flow in one transaction and not have a market correction hit us and the market start doing that now. I didn't want to take that chance. So we locked in a profit, total profit between cash flow distributions and the profit on the sale was right at 300%.
Wow. Not a bad first deal.
No. Look, I'll be honest. I'm brilliant. Yes. Okay. I'm brilliant. Whatever. No, I'm not brilliant at all, but I got lucky in the time that I got involved in the market. I got involved at the right time. And, we rolled that up. Now we operated the property very, very well, but we also got involved at a really good time.
Now there's a lot of people that, I don't want to say it's this misconception, but, this idea that, you got to start in wholesaling or start in flipping houses, or, there's kind of this entry level investing point, right? And you went directly to multifamily, right? So one, why did you go there? And two, did that ever cross your mind, of like, do I need to kind of get my feet wet first, or you just dove in?
Well, so I sat down at the computer and did a Google search, multifamily coaching or something like that, back in 2011. I was trying to figure this out. I knew real estate seemed to be a big deal, but I didn't know anything about it. So my thought was, being a Dave Ramsey kind of mindseted guy back then, I'm going to go pay cash for a house, or at least pay it off as quickly as I possibly could, buy 2 to 4 houses, live off the cash flow in my golden years. Well, then the person I found to kind of coach me and tutor me through this, you're like, why are you doing that? You're retired, basically, right? At 43 years old, you have time, you have money, and you've got, not experience, but you've got a knowledge base that will lend itself to going to multifamily, which is apartment complexes. But you want me to actually lead a deal. Well, okay, that seemed a little weird to me. So I don't know what I'm doing. My coach said, look, but I do. I said, okay, I want to trust you. So I jumped in there the very first time as a syndicator. Again, I didn't want the hassle of single family. I didn't want to invest with somebody else if I could do it on my own. So that's why I chose to get into multifamily, and then why I decided to syndicate myself.
I love it. And I love the fact that you said you had a mentor, right? If you don't know it all, and I think that's one thing I always tell new investors is, you don't have to know it all. Just surround yourself with people who have got the track record and the results and the experience and the resources and the network that will help you navigate that first deal. And then from there, obviously, we all know you learn so much on that first deal in whatever space you're playing in, that you have that newfound confidence. And it's kind of like, I can think of it like sitting down at a chessboard, right? Like, I know the overall idea of a chess board and how it's played and the game and all that. But at the end of the day, by the 100th time I sat down, I knew how how the pawn moved, how the knight moved, right? The strategy behind it, how to win the game. And so, but you got to sit down at the table first in order to give yourself an opportunity to learn. So after that first deal, because these are longer term type deals, what were you doing in the meantime to generate some income, or to grow your wealth, or to grow your knowledge or your business? Because you were saying, look, 5 to 8 year, that's a kind of a long timetable, right? What were you, or do you do in the meantime between deals?
Well, I'm the syndicator, first of all. Secondly, I've got a management company. So I've got a couple of income streams being driven from those apartment complexes. But now the first 48-unit property that I didn't come close to covering my bills, but that was okay. I knew that this one is the smaller one, that the bank is going to entrust me with a loan to go out and operate. They're not going to let me do a 1 to 200 unit deal the first time out. So I got to cut my teeth on this first one, learn how it works, dial in my processes, my procedures, my systems, and then I can start growing from there. So my second one was 120, then I went to a 256. But that first one, again, I knew wasn't going to pay my bills. It was going to teach me how to do it properly, run it effectively, run it profitably, but it was going to pay me like $3,000 a month roughly. That's not covering my bills. So again, I had quasi-retired at 43, and I had a pretty decent little nest egg saved up. So I was in a cash burn of a few $1,000s a month for probably, the first 2 months of going about this myself. So I just had a nest egg to live on for a little while.
Got it. So once you got that going, you talked about systems, right? And I'm a big believer in systems and infrastructure and processes, so you can scale through those and through people. what were some of the most critical systems that you learned right in the beginning that you kept applying over and over again? Because I want new investors or just investors in general to get an idea of how someone like yourself who's operating at such a high level gives value to those systems and how important they are to your business.
Well, the first one, of course, there weren't really many systems and processes and procedures. I had one part-time manager. I had one part-time maintenance guy. So at that level, I didn't have a lot of that stuff dialed in. But what I did learn very early on, I kind of knew this from my background. I've led people my whole life. I've been a manager. I've been a supervisor. I've been a store director, all that stuff. So what was very instrumental for me was empowering the people around me, right? So when I first took over that 48-unit property in North Austin, I had a part-time manager, and I was telling her, this is the way these units are going to be made ready. This is the level of the unit before the person moves in that I expect. And we went through this for about 6 months, and she finally pulled me to the side one day. She goes, would you stop? I'm like, what? I was picking everything the hell apart. Everything had to be perfect. All the drywall had to be just pristine. She goes, look, you're killing me. You're killing our staff, our one guy staff. She said, if you will back out of the way and let me do this the way I know we need to do this, I'll make you more money. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, what you want to get $900 a month in rent, I can do by spending half of what you're spending and still get the rent. I'm like, okay, I'm going to trust you and let's see how this goes. I got out of her way. And sure enough, she made me look stupid. You know, she was absolutely right. But I wasn't stupid. I listened to her. I got out of a knowledgeable person's way and let her run. So I empower my staff. I hire people smarter than me in the task that I need them to perform for me, give them the tools to do it, give them the expectation to get out of her way.
I love it. So how are you coming across these kind of deals now? What does your lead generation look like for these kind of opportunities? How can people find these kind of opportunities in their markets?
Okay, so when you say lead generation, most people in the, you're the six-figure flipper, right? So most of your audience, I think, is, dealing in single family. Single family, you're doing lots of mailings, you're bandit signing, you're doing all this stuff. I don't do that. Some people that try to get into this industry, into multifamily, they take that knowledge base and they try to bring it over to multifamily. And for the most part, it doesn't work.
Yep.
So you just got to build out relationships, get to know the brokers, get the brokers to know who you are, take you seriously. It's a grind. It takes a while for them to take you seriously, but try to get to know them personally. And that's what I did. I just started developing relationships. There's about 6 big brokers in Central Texas, Austin, San Antonio, and I got to know them very, very well. And now that I've been doing it for a while, I have a name, I have a track record. They know I'm a very good buyer, a very easy buyer. I will not tie things up. I will not nickel and dime people to death. I make it a very easy process. So now I get fed things under the table, off-market deals. I got one last week that came to me as an off-market deal. He said, look, before we market it, this is the number the seller wants. Should you hit it? You're one of 2 or 3 people I'm going to send this deal out to before it gets marketed. I was like, let me look at it. 3 days later, I made him an offer. I think we're going to get it under contract this week, 268 units. So again, it started with the relationships, taking me seriously, being respectful of them and their time, and now deals keep getting sent to me.
I love it. Now, what does that timetable look like? Because I can say the same thing on my side of, the first few years, it was all about building the relationships and getting people to trust you and, learning kind of about me, my business, same thing with them. And now it's just kind of like I got an army of people sending me opportunities. Is that kind of the same process, or can people expect, hey, if I call 20 brokers in my area or the markets I'm interested in, that I might be able to find one deal like that right away or soon?
Well, yeah, you're going to find, the more active you are, the quicker you're going to find it, right? So, yeah, it took, for me to build that kind of a reputation and that kind of deal flow now, it probably took me 2 or 3 years, honestly, maybe even 3 or 4 years. So it took a while. But the way I really, really went about it, and I don't like the brokers to hear this necessarily, but what I did is I have a target property. Like, let's say it's a 50 to 100 unit property. And I see one that I like. I don't like the neighborhood. I don't like this attribute, that attribute. It's not priced properly for my needs. I don't care. I want to go look at it anyways. Because I'm not unduly tasking these guys with having to waste their time on me because I'm a tire kicker. This is the range of property I'm looking for a 50 to 100 unit property. I have no business buying it. I don't want to buy it, but I got to get in front of these guys. I need them to learn who I am, get to know me personally. So what happens, those first 2, 3, 4 times I walk those types of properties with these brokers, and they, say, Matt, look, it's not going to work out for me on this deal, but, please let me know if you have anything else that I can look at in the future. So they'll go down a couple of months later and something else will come across their desk and they're like, you know what, Bruce, he didn't like that last one. This is exactly what Bruce said he's looking for. So now I get a phone call. So that's really how I went about doing it. Again, it took years to get this all kind of put in place and have them take me seriously and start spoon feeding me deals. But that's basically how I did it.
Yeah, it's brilliant, because at the end of the day, I mean, I think especially in an arena that you're playing in, how critical it is just to get face to face with people. It's one thing to be pounding the phones, right, and having these conversations, but when you get to be in front of somebody and just connect on that level, it's a much quicker rapport building opportunity to plant that seed in the head and build the relationship moving forward. So I love that. Now, with what you're doing today, what are some of the big challenges that investors are facing, or that you're facing, that people should be keeping an eye on or finding a way to overcome?
Challenges? Well, with what I do, I'm a syndicator, right? My biggest challenge is always raising money. It's always raising money. People talk to me all the time, how do I do what you do? So I walk them through how I did what I did. Now, are you willing to do what I did? Most people that I talk to, honestly, they're not willing to do the crap I do. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress. There's a lot of white knuckle stuff that goes on with it. But the biggest challenge is, like I said, when I tell them, okay, this is how you're going to do it. You get one property, and a lot of people say, okay, I'm done raising money. No, you're not. You're never done raising money, ever, unless you never want to buy another property.
Right.
If you ever want to continually buy properties, don't ever stop marketing yourself. Don't ever stop trying to raise money. That's the biggest challenge. Not for me so much anymore, because I've got a very large database, but for people getting into this industry, that's probably the biggest challenge right there is, after being taken seriously by the brokers, is how are you going to keep your funnel filled? Because the same 3 people aren't going to have $50,000 to $100,000 every time you want to do another deal. So You're going to have to continually keep filling that funnel.
Where do you recommend people start? Somebody that, wants to say, hey, I want to get my first, let's say 20 unit, let's say 50 unit building, maybe 20 to 50, they want to get going. Where do you recommend somebody that is new or maybe has some experience level start, if that's a space that they want to break into?
Okay, you were breaking up really bad, but I think you're asking me if somebody has $20,000 to $50,000 and they want to get started, what it is I do.
Yep.
Okay, so you got to back into a number. You got to figure, if I have $50,000 to bring to the table, first of all, am I got enough people to invest with me on my first deal? And I'm only going to put $50,000 into it if I'm going to raise $500,000 to $1 million, $500,000 to $1 million. So you first have to be able to sell yourself, right? Everybody, every day you're alive, you're selling yourself. Whether you understand that or not, you're always selling yourself. Do they know, like, and trust you? If they do, they're probably going to be okay giving you their money. But so if you have $50,000, right, you got to figure out what do you think you can raise, and then add your $50,000. That'll tell you the kind of property you're going to be looking for. $50,000 first time out in my neighborhood, you're probably going to be looking at a 20 to 40 unit property. And that's kind of it, because if you go into a 300 unit property and you have to raise, let's say, $8 million, track record, you're getting started at this, you're never going to be able to raise the other $7.9 million, basically. So you got to figure out what you have to work with, what you think you can reasonably raise, and research that way.
Got it. So starting with the end in mind and kind of reverse engineering it from there based on your ability really to raise the capital is what I'm hearing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You have to know what it is you're trying. I sat with a guy the other day that's in a group, a private group that I'm part of, right? And he was like, Bruce, how do I do it? I'm like, okay, well, you want to do this? Yeah, I do. I make really good money doing what I'm doing now. I'm like, okay. He said, but I see the writing on the wall that at any time they could let me go. They could downsize me. They could outsource me. They could do whatever they want. I'm not secure where I am. I'm like, okay, great. I said, so for you to be able to walk away from that at your at your decision. What do you need? He's like, what are you talking about? I said, what's your number? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, okay, what do you need monthly to cover your bills? And then have a little bit extra just to, give some gifts, go get your hair cut, whatever you're going to do, go out to dinner with your wife every once in a while. What's your number? He goes, oh, dude, I don't know. Like, dude, reverse engineer.
Yep.
Figure out what that number is. What are you trying to get? And then you can figure out how to get there. But if you don't know where the hell you're trying to get, you're lost. You're never going to accomplish it.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you look for in properties, right? So I know I have a handful of, multifamily buddies who they have their metrics that they look at, whether it's in a market with population growth and density and rent roll. What are some of the underwriting metrics that you look at in order to feel confident in going, okay, this passes kind of the sniff test before really diving into, say, the numbers of the deal? What are some of the other things that you're looking at and taking into account? And then maybe we can talk a little bit about the numbers and how you're actually facilitating the financing on these kind of deals.
Okay, so sure. What I'm looking for, mine is pretty easy because I'm always staying in my backyard, right? I always invest in Central Texas. We will start branching out later this year into different markets, different states, either that or next year sometime. But right now, we know our submarkets that we work in. But if you don't, basically, yeah, I'm looking for not crime-ridden. You don't want it to be on the news every single night, the neighborhood you're buying in. I want net migration in, people moving in. I want, hopefully, job growth to be happening. I want wage growth to be happening. I want there to be a draw, right? Austin, it's great. San Antonio is the same way. It's just about 5 to 10 years behind Austin. But Austin is a very, very big tech hub. So people are always moving here to work in the tech industry. And San Antonio is starting to follow suit. They're really going very high tech right now with a lot of high tech jobs. So is there a draw? Is there a college that'll bring people to town? If it's a one-horse town and everybody, as soon as they hit 18, they can't wait to leave, you probably don't want to invest there. Right. Well, but Bruce, the prices are so cheap. Well, there's a reason the prices are cheap. Stay out of those neighborhoods, right? Stay out of those towns, in my opinion. So again, I'm looking for people to be moving in, wages to be going up, and job creation to be going up. That's the main.
So those check out. Then you go, okay, I like this area. These metrics are looking good. Now the numbers crunching, the analytics of the performance of the asset, right? Are you looking for underperforming assets? Are you already looking for the best, highest and best use already in place? What is your kind of model and strategy? Value add or turnkey?
I'll buy anything that makes sense. So, but there's two different, processes there, right? You've got the deep value add, or you do have what you're calling turnkey or a fully stabilized asset. And my submarkets, most all of the distressed assets in the 100 units and above, from the last implosion in the real estate world, all that stuff's been scooped up, turned around, and put back out of the market, right? So they've been flipped, a long-term flip. Right. For your audience, a flip here is 1 to 3 years. All that's been cleaned up and put back out. It's a good market right now. So those don't exist very much. I want those, but if I can't find those, I'm looking for a fully stabilized property that by the end of the first year, I'm able to return. I'm hitting a 7 to 9% return for my silent investors. That's really it. You've got rules of thumb to try to help identify that stuff. And one of the rules of thumb that people know in single family is the 1% rule. The 1% rule in multifamily, it's not as tried and true, but it's pretty close. So if I've got something that rents for $1,000 a unit on average, that property is probably going to go for about $90,000 to $110,000 a door. So if I'm roughly in line with that, I know, okay, let's start to dig in a little deeper, see if it really does work.
Got it. So you guys go through the underwriting. Now, are you using spreadsheets and calculators, and how are you getting down to the fine black and white of, all right, makes sense, we're pulling the trigger, we're making an offer?
Yeah, the people that taught me how to do it at the beginning, like I said, my mentor, my coach, they kind of taught me how to assess a deal and how to build it out. So now I've gone out and kind of created my own spreadsheet that I plug all the numbers in. Mine is a 5-year. I don't do like a traditional 10-year DCF, a discounted cash flow analysis. Hell, I don't know what's going to happen in 2 years, much less 10. Yeah, I can project it out, but is that going to happen? Very often I exceed a 10-year DCF, but the point is, I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. I will carry it out 5, try to make my best projections based on my knowledge base, my track record, the knowledge of the market that I have. But yeah, I have my own spreadsheets, and I do all my, a lot of guys that do what I do that have thousands of units, they have an analyst on board, or they have a team of analysts. Well, I am my own analyst, right? Again, at my scale, I'm not at 10, 20, 30,000 units, so I can still handle it all in-house. So right. I have my own management company, construction company. I do all my deal analysis, all my relationship building. But yeah, I run it through my spreadsheets.
Now, once you guys get kind of the final numbers dialed in, you're feeling comfortable, you make the offer, LOI goes out, you guys get accepted. What are your next steps? What are kind of those initial, days and weeks of due diligence and kind of putting the actual financing and structuring of the deal together so people can really sink their teeth and wrap their head around that process after kind of getting that meeting of the minds?
Okay, so we get an accepted LOI, we have a signed PSA, a purchase sale agreement. So now we're off and running. In multifamily, your due diligence or your option period is typically 21 to 30 days. Normal was always 30, but with this extreme seller's market, those have been compressed down to 21 to 24 days typically. But, day one, you've got 21 to 30 days to get it all figured out, and be able to back out with only losing your $1,000 option money. So right away, you better get your insurance guy on it right away, because insurance can take 2 to 4 weeks sometimes to get it all flushed out, to know what your rates are going to be, because you're at the mercy a lot of times of the seller. Are they going to get you loss runs? So basically a history of the claims on that property. You can't get a dialed in quote until you have the loss runs for the last 3 to 5 years. So you're at somebody else's mercy in a large part. So you got to get that stuff started right away. But then usually within the first 7 days of going under contract, I'll actually show up with a team, a small team, and we'll walk every single unit. We want to see inside every unit. We have contractors come out, because I'm a GC, I have my own construction company, but a lot of it is still done through subs. So I have my trusted subcontractors that I'll have come out and walk the units with me, walk the major systems. I'm looking at roofs, I'm looking at foundation, wood destroying insects, termites, that kind of stuff, carpenter ants. I'm looking at plumbing. I'm going to camera all the lines, but I've got 21 to 30 days to get all this figured out and dial in my rehab budget and make sure the deal still works. Now, when I go under contract, I've got kind of a high level view of what I think the rehab dollars are going to be, because I know what I'm looking at. I know that roof looks like it's okay. That parking lot's probably going to need $50,000. So I've got earmarks for money for all these different projects, but I usually will come in with an extra $100,000 to $300,000 above my anticipated, because again, my goal is to be a non-pain in the ass buyer. I don't want to retrade you or basically renegotiate the price of the deal, because that's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. Yep. I'm not going to bid $10 million for a property I know no matter what I find, even if I find nothing, I'm going to renegotiate $1 million. I'm not going to do that. So I come in with more money than I think I need for the rehab and the deferred maintenance, just to make sure if I do find something, I have enough money on hand to absorb it.
You guys insulate that. Awesome. Now, when you have all the money put together, what does the financing look like this for someone who's like, all right, so he goes out, he raises money, but then they get a loan. What does that look like? And what are, if you don't mind sharing, kind of some of the structuring, and you don't have to share yours, but maybe some industry used profit sharing, right? And distributions, dividends.
Yeah. Okay. So then the financing part of it, I'll always put debt on it. Always put debt on it. And that's the deal is such a slam, grand slam home run, but I can only get it with cash because nobody will touch it. It's that big a piece of crap. I don't ever want to do that, right? I'm going to leverage my money and my investors' money to get a better return.
Yep.
So I'm going to put 75 to 80% debt on the property almost always. I've had a few that they would only give me 70% debt, but the deal still worked. I want as much debt as I can get on the property safely. So I don't really want to go above 80% debt myself. In today's market, we're usually seeing 4 to 6 years of interest only on the loans. I'm still looking at, mid to about 4.6 to 4.75% rates, 30-year amortizations, non-recourse. I do everything non-recourse because, again, for the most part, I'm buying everything fully stabilized.
Yep.
And the nice thing about non-recourse debt, meaning if I try my best to run the property and I don't do anything fraudulent or dishonest or illegal, it didn't work out, I go drop the keys back on Fannie Mae's desk basically and say, look, I'm out. Sorry, it didn't work out. They can't come after me. Now, I've lost money on the deal, right? But they can't come after me personally now because it's non-recourse.
Yep.
Also, non-recourse, it's not going to tie me down from getting the next loan or the next loan or the next loan. It's non-contingent liability. You can't do that in single family. If I have 10 loans, you start to top yourself out without going to the portfolio loans and all that stuff. I don't have that problem. I have, I can have hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of loans, but I can go out and get another one tomorrow. So we're usually going to do non-recourse debt for that reason. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah. Tell who are some of these loan providers? Who are some of these lenders, right? Because it's definitely not your traditional, hey, let me go to Wells Fargo and can you give me a loan for my big old multifamily project, right? What are some of these companies and or organizations that are providing funding for these kind of projects?
Well, it's basically government-sponsored entities, right? It's GSEs. They're the big guys out there, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Those are the guys that I'm dealing with almost always. They have the best terms. You've got other people that are willing to lend. You've got some insurance companies. You've got regional banks that will loan. Regional banks usually won't give you non-recourse or their terms aren't going to be as good. But yeah, I usually everything is going to be Fannie or Freddie and almost always going to be Fannie.
And how do people, do they just type in Fannie and Freddie or is this another relationship, right? How do people get?
All right, good point. Yeah, so the best way to do it is to get in touch with a mortgage broker, right? So you're going to go to somebody that has way more contacts than you'll ever have. You've got a mortgage broker might have 50 to 100 different sources for lending. They're going to be tied into a lot of the regional banks. They're going to be tied into a lot of the credit unions, the insurance companies that are willing to lend. But then they're also going to be a direct line to a lender for Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. So no, you're not going to go directly to Fannie or Freddie, the agency guys. You're going to have a middleman called a DUS lender that they are authorized by Fannie and Freddie to initiate loans that Fannie and Freddie will then buy from them usually within the first 30 days and put it out, send it out to investors that way. So yeah, go through a mortgage broker. They're going to have all the connections that you need. Find a reputable one. Find somebody that's done this for a while and has a big Rolodex and go with them. That's by far your easiest way. Because also, they don't get paid unless you get a loan. They're your biggest advocate in this deal. They're going to, they're never going to manipulate anything you do, but they're going to try to talk to you about how you want to phrase things, how you want to word things, how you want your real estate bio to be worded. They're going to help you work through the process also.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I don't know about all you guys listening, but I've definitely learned a lot today. Bruce is a genius when it comes to this space. And he even said, right, I'm not the smartest guy, but you are surrounded by a great team of people. And it's right. Impressive to see how much you have accumulated and accomplished in such a short time. And, I'm curious to know what your opinion is on where the market is currently at, where you see it going, right? And we know you don't have a crystal ball, but kind of your gut feeling and some of the things that you're tracking and keeping an eye on, and how that changes your strategy or impacts multifamily and your model of what you're doing.
All right, so the market, right, we don't know what's going to happen. We all feel that it's getting pretty top heavy right now. In a lot of the markets, we're probably close to a top, if not at a top. But I'm not going to quit buying. I can still find deals, and I stress test a deal, or I buy with a margin of safety, right? To steal a Buffettism, Warren Buffett. I buy with a margin of safety. That's why I want a 7 to 9% return by the end of the first year, because that gives me enough wiggle room to still be able to pay my debts, to pay my operating expenses, my loan, all that stuff, even if the market goes down 10%. Now, if the market goes down 10% in rents, there's a chance I'm not going to hit my projected numbers, but we're not going to be in trouble of losing the property. We might, instead of a 9 or 10% return, we might be looking at a 6 to 8% return, but we're still safe. We're still not going to make a reckless decision, buy a property that's too expensive, that the returns are too low. I'm not going to be a guy that buys a 2 to 3% return property because I think the value is going to go up so high. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to buy for cash flow and then be happy with everything else that comes with it. So the market's going to correct, but we do buy with a margin of safety. Um, on this topic, I heard Grant Cardone on a podcast the other day, and he was talking about, somebody was asking, well, shouldn't I wait until the market corrects? Aren't we at the top? No, don't wait. What if the market never corrects? You're never going to buy anything. But secondly, let's say it does correct. Don't you want to be positioned and primed and ready to pick up hundreds, if not thousands of units at deeply discounted prices? If you don't start until the bottom falls out, you can't take advantage of the bottom because you don't have your knowledge. You're going to be taken seriously by the brokers. Get involved now. The deals are a little harder to come by now because it is an extreme seller's market. But there are still deals out there to be found. So just get out there and get engaged and find some good properties.
Yep. I always say too, right? If you can find opportunities in the most challenging of markets, what are you going to be doing when the bottom drops out and there's opportunities everywhere, right?
Right. We make good money in up markets, but we kill it in down markets.
I love it. Well, Bruce, this has been super informative, brother. It's been a pleasure. I want to make sure that people have the ability to connect with you and learn more about you. And by the way, man, you're a perfect example of, someone who is in a brick and mortar space and you're building this brand, the apartment guy. I love it. And how you're leveraging that to supplement opportunities into your brick and mortar space through this online brand that you're creating. So I want to give you kudos and props there. And for people that want to connect with you, want to learn more, how do they go about doing that?
Couple of ways. Apartmentguy.com. So it's apt-guy.com. That's the website. Then Instagram is going to be apt.guy. So that's the best ways to follow me or get in touch with me. We're always going to be doing the next deal. I love everything about what it is I do. Once you get all these systems and processes and procedures in place, it gets really easy and it's just a blast. So I see no stop in my future. So we're going to keep doing more deals and more deals and more deals. So if you're interested in seeing what we're doing, go to apartmentguy.com and check us out.
Appreciate you, brother. Cheers.
Absolutely do. Thanks.
All right. Well, that does it for this interview. Great conversation. I feel like I'm a whole lot more versed in this space. This is something that I haven't branched out into. A lot of my mentors, a lot of my friends, a lot of my peers, they invest in multifamily. And they started maybe in wholesaling, they started maybe as a realtor, they started maybe as a mortgage professional, they started maybe as a flipper. But ultimately, at the end of the day, everybody wants the passive income, right? And so while those other vehicles create big chunks of cash for you, you got to go put that cash to work, right? And have that cash bring you more cash without you ultimately having to grind and work and show up for it every day. And that's what multifamily investing, or just at the end of the day, buy and hold investing, allows and provides for you, is that passive income, that financial freedom if you do it the right way. And obviously you've seen there's a lot that goes into it, and we really didn't even scratch the surface. So if you want to know more about what Bruce is up to, some of his deals, if you got questions for him, I'm going to go ahead and include all of the links and resources to get in contact with him in the show notes or in the show description. And we have more multifamily conversations coming up, because this is something that I personally want to be doing more of myself, and also something that really any real estate investor long-term should be wanting to do for themselves, for their family, right? That's ultimately what's going to unlock the freedom, is knowing that you got a paycheck coming in each and every month. And if it's a massive positive cash flow, plus on top of that, you have equity building in an actual asset, nothing gets better than that, right? So be sure to check out the show notes at mattaitchison.com. We also have all kinds of free tools and resources at mattaitchison.com. Just click on the products tab and you can check out a lot of the free downloads there. Obviously, we have Like a Pro guide available for you guys today. You can get it on the website or just text Like a Pro, no spaces, to 44222, and it'll pop that into your inbox as well. With that being said, be sure to check out the free webinar that's available each and every week for anybody that wants to learn how to flip houses from start to finish. We got some new webinars that are going to be rolling out, new training. So if there's questions, comments, things that you want to see, guests you want me to connect with, or interview topics you want me to cover, feel free to post those in the comment section below. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed yet. If you're listening to this on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, be sure to subscribe and leave a review on those channels as well so we can keep reaching more people. And that's ultimately it, I think, for this week. Next week, Mr. Vinny Chopra, another GoBundance friend, another investor who's absolutely crushing it. His story is amazing, and they don't call him Smiley for no reason. This guy is full of energy, bubbly, funny. He's, I think, in his mid to late 60s, and he's got more energy than most 20-year-olds. So you guys are going to really love his story, and also just hear what he's done, how much money he's raised, how he's done it. A great conversation to piggyback on Bruce Petersen's today. So with that being said, I'll see you guys next week. Until then, see you on the flip side.